again, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk about this. I have to imagine that you've been quite busy with Moon Knight being such a big deal.
Yo, yeah, yeah, Moon Knight is is it's big. I'm so happy with how the show is well received by the audience and everyone. It's great to see this after a long time and long nights of work and of hard work and from everybody on board really.
When did you come on board as part of this project?
Oh, I was, the the initial contact was in April, May, maybe April, somewhere around April last year.
Oh,
And I started writing for the show, writing the music in August 2021.
now I have to imagine that you're not new to the composing game at all, but I'm curious as to what it was like making a leap into the world of English language pictures with something as high profile as this.
Yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I've been doing music for films. I've been my career from it has been my career for like more than 20 years ago. But of course, doing working with Marvel, it's fantastic. It's so great in all aspects and all in every sense really, because everything is just t- t- bigger and better, and it's so different in so many ways really. And but I must say it, although there are so many differences in everything in the system and the workflow and everything, yet we all share the same goal at the end. We all share the same goal. Make we all want to create this unforgettable moment on the screen that would stand even for a couple of seconds, whether is it in Marvel or is it in just a small project in anywhere in the world.
I am always very impressed when large companies like Marvel or Disney bring in people to work on projects who are part of that world. Um, because I feel like, they brought in Egyptian actors, they brought in an Egyptian composer, which I think gives it like authenticity, for lack of a better word. But like, I know part of your goals when composing this music was to avoid tropes that might be associated with Egyptian mythology, pharaohs, things of that nature. Like, how did you go about approaching that?
See, this was, the uh, the director of the show, Mohammed Diab, is Egyptian as well. So he was so clear about that right from the very beginning. Is that the reason why we are all on board? Or one of the main reasons why we are all on board is that when it comes to the Egyptian aspects of the show, that whether they are the locations, the wardrobe, or the sets, the streets, or in the music, they have to be authentic Egyptian, or authentically Egyptian, in the sense of the, there are this Western perspective on whatever it is Eastern. Of course, for you, an American, you may see what is Egyptian and what is Lebanese, for instance, pretty close, but we're not. We're different. There are some differences in it. And Egypt, in particular, because it's a vast population. It's a very big country in size and in history as well. We have a very large spectrum of culture And when it comes to music, we have so many musical styles throughout the history, and as well as in modern times music, so many different styles, so many different musical approaches. So for instance, if you walk in the streets of Cairo, walking across coffee shops, workshops and stuff, you would on hopping on taxis, you would listen to so many different musical styles and songs. Still are all of them Egyptians. So he wanted to bring that to the show to make it feel like this is the real Egypt, especially when it is the Egyptian part of the show, because the show is not about Egypt, as you may have noticed. It's not. This is not the main essence, but it is big part of it happened in Egypt. So that he was keen to have.
I mean, that's a very good point. Like a very big portion of this show takes place in various parts of the world, and it feels like but I would imagine that wasn't the most difficult part, but rather you have two characters in one. You have Mark and Steven. And I have to imagine like that presented its own unique challenges.
Yeah, the the character of Mark Spector is a very multispectral. It's a very rich character in its background, his psyche, his the way it's built, the way it's profile, his childhood trauma, his loss, the burden he carries upon his shoulder towards his wife, his loved wife, and his relation to Khonshu, and the things that he did through that Khonshu did through him, and all of that, and his, of course, identity, this dissociative identity disorder, and this that makes him a very special character that is very challenging and inviting at the same time for any composer to write music for. Especially the way and then the angle that is tackled from the series, the way this all things has been presented, it's really amazing.
Um, there were several different directors on this series in addition to Mohammed Diab. There was also Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, who are no strangers to Strange Worlds themselves. And I'm curious as to if there was a difference in the working with each one, or if you were working not worrying about like the directors themselves.
I was not worried about that, because there's some, you know in the meetings and the reviews sessions, there were like 11, maybe 12 people in the session. There was this sense of the same wavelength. Everybody was aligned. So it's as if you were talking to, yes, of course there are so many different people, and they are different in so many ways, but we are targeting the same goal at the end. We are speaking the same language, the same dramatic language, and of course, and artistic language. And yes, they didn't. I didn't know that didn't worry me. That didn't worry me much. That each I had to shift from one director to another. No, this because they were so aligned in the dramatic sense.
I mean, listening to all of the music you have done throughout the show, now that the series has concluded, the thing that I took away most from it, like by the halfway through the second episode, I was just like, this is like maybe one of my favorite scores for like superhero like action that I've heard in a really long time. And it seems like you had a lot of fun getting to play in, you got to do action, and you got to do like a high, like sort of spy drama, and you got to do, the big superhero battles and things like that. Was it fun getting into play in this sandbox of all of these different like genres within one show?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, well, first, thank you. I'm so glad that you like the score and the music and yes, I had fun each and every, not each and every single day, each and every moment, because I was sitting in this room alone, and it was so playful to me, so dynamic. So I had it couldn't be more interesting. So, for instance, there's an astonishing adventure, and all of a sudden you bump into a very tragic event, or even an emotionally or romantic scene, and then all of a sudden you embark into this unusual superhero thing, like encounters between the gods and the avatars of the gods, and then traveling through the deserts through a spooky tomb exploration. So it was amazing. Like I always say, this show had everything in full and in excess in and at once. So this is how I loved it. It was so full.
So like now that you have like had this sort of work, like what are you working on now? Like what's your next project? Like because I feel like every time I talk to a musician or a composer or anything like that, they're very excited about the thing that's out, but they also are very excited about the next thing they're working on.
I'm now on a break, really, a much needed break. Yes, because I just finished like a few weeks ago, and I really needed this break, this before looking ahead. So what lies ahead, and then yeah. So everybody in this business is always looking ahead and excited about what's coming next. But that's the name of the game. That's our life, and yes.
I'm just happy that like I finally got to talk to like an artist who's like, no, I'm gonna take a break and I'm gonna enjoy this. And like I feel like that makes you a very healthy minded person.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you if you say it this way, because yes, we need to regenerate, and we need to rejuvenate in other sense, and yeah, become newer person with fresher ideas, fresher ears, fresher eyes, and you need to rest in order to have this.
Well, I can't wait to see what comes for you next. And sir, thank you so much for taking time to speak to me today. That I've had an absolute blast, both speaking with you and enjoying your music for Moon Knight.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I thank you for having me, and I had fun talking to you.
You're welcome. Have a good rest of your day, sir.
Thank you. Same to you.
Bye bye.
Ciao.